This is part one of a two-part video series on reminders in Protractor. So Protractor Software's reminder feature tracks vehicle maintenance services by setting specific intervals based on time or usage. These reminders help manage and sell maintenance services by identifying the last and next due service intervals for each vehicle. The beauty of the reminders is it is fully customizable in your system. You can use reminders to track services and inspections, and you can apply them to an individual service item itself. In other words, I could have 3 or 4 or 5 customers with the same type of vehicle, could be same year, same engine, same everything, but yet they all drive them differently. So I can tailor the reminders to those specific vehicles for those specific customers. So this section here, what we're going to do is we're going to cover the setup, how reminders are set up and created. I'll teach you how you can even create your own reminders, and you can have them all customized however you like. So for my home ribbon, I'm going to go over to setup, and I'm going to go search for reminders. Typically in your system, you're going to have what we call reminder items and reminder groups. So groups are just simply a group of individual reminders that you've put together. So let's go talk about an item. So when we do load the database, typically we'll have a real basic setup here. Fluids, filters, the main services that you're going to do. Now you might have something that's different that you want to add, which you certainly can. But first, let's talk about how these are made so it'll make it easy for you to make your own if you wish. So if I take this first one here, this air filter, all we did was we came in and we hit add, and then it just opened it up and we just gave it a name. So, okay, we're going to track air filters. So here in the description, just a little brief description on what we're doing. So you're going to see two more tabs. One is intervals, one is triggers. So what is an interval? So an interval is how often do you want to do this particular service when you attach it to a vehicle. Now you can have as many multiple different intervals as you like. To create one, you can go to action and you can hit add reminder. And then you're going to go here, put in how much you want. So if you want to track it by days, you can track by days. You can also do it by months. So if I have a customer that needs to come in every 60 days, maybe they're on the road all the time, get the oil change, the air filter replaced or whatever, you can do that. And you just type in how many days. Usage would be how many miles or kilometers. If you're tracking something that has hours on it, you can track the hours here too, because that's going to be used in the mileage spot in the work order if you're tracking hours. So you just put that in. You can use both. You can use either one. Now, the other thing you can do here on this type is you can open this drop down. You can switch it to a fixed date. So with a fixed date, basically what you're going to do is tell it what date you want to do this on, or the service is going to be performed. So let's say it's the 4th, September 4th, 2024, and I want to do it once a year. So that's what interval is here. So if I change this to 2, that means I'm going to do this once every 2 years. And 3 would be once every 3 years, so on and so on. So you can even spread it out over a long period of time if you need to with a fixed date. Most people are going to use periodic. So even if I'm doing an inspection that's an annual inspection, for example, I might even go by time and say, well, look, I want to do this every 12 months. So it's whatever you choose. You can pick whatever you like here. If you find you have a bunch of intervals in here, but you really don't need them all, maybe you just want 1 or 2 to start with, you can click and remove. Now, keep in mind, though, even you got to have at least 1 interval in here. If I have at least 1, then what happens is anytime I add a reminder to a service item, I can always customize this interval. So it doesn't matter. As long as I got one, I can do it. That's not a problem. The third tab you're going to see here is triggers. This is the important one. So what is a trigger? It's the service package or inspection that's going to tell the system that the service was performed. So how do I add a trigger? Well, I just go in, I'm going to go to action, and I can go look for a service package or an inspection. So when I hit add service package, I'm going to go search my service packages for an air filter job. So if I know what category to look in, I can. If I'm not sure, I can do a whole profit center. Now, bear in mind, this is the critical part here. If you have multiple profit centers, let's say I have an automotive, for car and light truck, and then I might have a medium duty. So I'm going to be having an air filter service package in each one of those profit centers. So I do want to pull both if I want to use just this one reminder to track air filters. So again, if you got more than one profit center and you want to be able to track it from both, you got to go pull both air filter packages. So basically, if I had it from one already on here and I need to go find the other, I can go in here and I can say, oh, geez, I need the air filter job for the other one. And see here, it'll tell you which profit center. And then I hit OK. And then basically it'll just add that same package. It'll look exactly the same. It's just going to be from the second profit center or third, however many profit centers you have. If you do put one on and you don't want it, guess what? Just click on it, highlight it, and you can remove it. So it makes it real simple to track. How do I know if a service package is set up as a trigger? Let's go look. So I'm going to go over to my services. And we're going to go pull up an air filter job. Open it up. And you'll see there's a tab here called triggers. See, so this is telling you that this job is actually a trigger on a reminder. So what if I go and create a whole new package? If I create one from scratch, this is going to be totally empty. Okay, so basically it's going to look like this. So I go and create, I go put a title in, my job lines, whatever I'm going to do here. I go to triggers. You'll see that's been totally disconnected or not connected at all to that reminder. So to add it, you just click on add reminder item. And see, now I can go search the reminder list. So I'm going to go look for the air filter job. There it is. Click. So I'm connecting the actual service to the reminder item. And I hit OK and see now it's connected. Now, the real nice thing about our system is, what if I go make a copy of this job? Maybe I'm going to have an air filter job that I might have a primary or a secondary air filter or something like that. So I don't necessarily want to go and add one from total scratch. I can click on it, right click, and I can duplicate. And then I can just go change it up. So if I say, oh, hey, this one's going to be for air filter for a secondary or something like that. Now look what happens because I duplicated it. It automatically brings the trigger. So you don't even have to remember to do it. It'll do it on its own. And I hit save. See, now I actually going to have two jobs attached to that reminder item. So I go back to my reminders. open it up. And there they are. So it's very important that you have the proper job attached to the correct reminder item. And if you have multiple jobs, make sure you attach them. The other big one you'll run into with that is oil changes, especially. See, if I go here, see, I've got all these different oil change packages. So all I really care about is I want to make sure they're all attached as triggers. So no matter which one I do, it'll tell the system it was performed and be able to track it. The next part is you can actually create your own groups. So a group is just a series of reminders. Now, again, in your system, you're probably going to have this ABCD or these basic and standard and maintenance. So really all this is you just come in, you can open the group by double clicking. You can change the name, call that group whatever you want, put a little description in. See, on this one, I'm tracking oil and filter service, tire rotation, air filter. But let's say I also want to track cabin filter. So I'm just going to add cabin filter here. Oop. Go to reminder items. See, now I need to go find that item that I want to track. I'll go to action, add item. Go look up cabin. There it is. Click, hit OK. See, now I've added that other reminder item to here. Now you'll notice it has default interval. You can go pre-select the default interval if you want. That way, when I put this onto a service item, when I attach it to the service item, it'll automatically have those. And again, don't forget, when we go to attach these to the service item, this is customizable. If you want to build a new one from scratch, again, just hit add, give it a name, a little description, and just start adding whatever items you want to track. The nice thing too is you can add a group to a vehicle or any type of a service item, and you may not necessarily want to track all the items in that group. So for example, this one here, oil and filter, tire rotation, and all fluids. So just because, I'm going to go open this up and show you the list here. Just because it has all these items does not necessarily mean that I'm going to track them all. I may not have a differential I want to track or something like that. So this can actually be removed when I attach it to the service item. So again, I'm just customizing this to that particular service item. The last thing here in the setup you want to be aware of, let's go out of here. We're going to go to location settings. So on this work order tab, if we kind of go down, scroll down, here's a couple things we can do with this. See, we can actually have a default reminder group. Basically what this is when I go to add it, it'll automatically use whichever group I want as the default. So if I say, well, I want to use the basic one, then that'll come up first. This reminder item skip if there is no past service. What that is for is, let's say I have a large group of items I'm tracking and we haven't actually performed let's say a transmission flush on it or something, or maybe a brake fluid exchange or something. And there's no history in the system on it. When I go to post it out, it's going to prompt you to try to make the next appointment, but it'll skip that because there is no history. So that's what that is for. You just check the box and it'll do that. So set your default reminder group here. And if you want to skip anything that doesn't have a history to it, you can actually check that box there. And that's again for posting out to an invoice and trying to book the next appointment. So that's the end of part 1 of the setup. Part 2, what we're going to do is get into actually applying it and see how it works, and then how you can customize it on each vehicle.